So hello everyone, welcome to Codestur. So this is the fourth lecture of the C++ series from beginner to advanced. So in the third lecture, you got to know about how to take input and output in C++. You got to know about the chaining concept and you got to know moving to the next line on the screen, like how to move to the next line on the screen in the code, right? If you are not familiar with all this topic, I recommend you to go to the previous video to the lecture 3 and first see that and then come to the conditionals. Like even if you don't see that, you would get conditionals easily, but I recommend you to see that because the lecture is quite understanding. Fine, let's move on to our lecture, right? The lecture will focus on conditional. Okay, conditionals, what does this mean? This means that if we want to execute if we want to execute some lines of program if we want to execute some lines of programs based on some conditions, right? So what does this mean actually is that if a particular condition becomes true, if a particular condition becomes true, then only then only the line gets executed, right? This is what this actually means. So there are various methods to implement these conditional statements. We are going to study all of them. Okay, moving on to the first one, if statement. Okay, so what does this if statement simply do? First I'll tell you the syntax and then I'll explain how is it going to work. I'll write something like that, if, and in this bracket I'll write some condition, right? And you already knew condition is a boolean value, just like that. Boolean means actually 0 or 1. 0 means false, 1 means true. That's it. Condition is either true or it is either false. That means it is a boolean, right? You can write any boolean value inside it. And then I'll put these curly braces, right? Something like that, these curly braces, and I'll write all my code between that. So what will actually happen is that if this condition becomes true, that means if the boolean value that is contained in this condition becomes 1, that means it becomes true, then only these lines will get executed. Then only these lines will get executed. This is what it actually means, right? Let me show you by an example. So let's suppose an example like that. I have a question something like that. User will enter an age. Okay, user will enter an age. So what you will have to do is that if age is greater than or equal to 18, you will have to just print on the screen. You can vote, right? You will have to just print on the screen vote. Simple. That's it. That's it you want to do. Okay. So how will the code look like? First, this age has to be stored in a variable, right? This has to be an integer. I'll declare a variable int age. The name of the variable can be anything, right? I'll take input from the user, c in age. Fine, user gave me the input. After this, I'll put my conditional statement. If age greater than equal to 18, simple, you're getting that, right? This is a comparison operator. You already know about operator. This is a like this is comparing the two values, age and 18. If age is 18 or above, like greater than or equal to, if age is 18 or above, you have to just print on the screen this particular word vote, right? What I'll do is that I'll just do C out and I'll do something like that, vote. Simple programming and all that, like hash include iostream int main, that remains the same. All of this code, all of this code is written inside int main. All of this code is written inside int main. Simple. That's it. This is the if conditional statement. Okay. Moving on to the second conditional statement. If, else, if. This is the second conditional statement. So how does this work actually? Let me tell you the syntax first. Okay. What I'll do is that I'll write if, I'll write some condition one, simple. Like there could be lots and lots of condition. I just write some condition that is termed as condition one, right? And I put this braces and I wrote some code inside it. Fine. After that, I wrote something like that. Else if condition 2, and again I did the same thing, right? Again I wrote something like that. Else if condition 3, I wrote some programming lines and then I close this. So actually, how is it going to work? How is it going to work? So the program encounters this if, right? It will check condition 1. Let's suppose this evaluates to false. Let's suppose this evaluates to false. These lines don't get executed. It moves on to the next line. This encounters else if. So according to the program, the else if is a trailing part of this if. This is a trailing part, right? This is actually related to this if. According to the program, this else if is actually related to the if, right? So what it will do is that it will check else if, then this it will check condition 2, right? Let's suppose this also evaluates to false. These lines will not get executed, right? Moving on to the next line, this else if is again trailing from this one. This else if is again trailing from this one, right? It will again check condition 3. Let's suppose this evaluates to true. Let's suppose this evaluates to true. These line gets executed. Fine, simple, that's it. Let's move on to the next variation. How things are going to work in if else if conditional statement, right? Okay, now let's suppose this evaluated to false, right? These lines didn't get executed, trailing. Moving on to the next one. Let's suppose this got evaluated to true. Fine, these lines get executed. These lines get executed, simple. Now moving on to this next else if. The program, how it behaves is that if among all these conditions, like if, else if, among all these conditions, condition 1, condition 2, condition 3, in the preference order from above to below, in the preference order from top to bottom, if any one of it gets evaluated to true, if any one of it gets evaluated to true, then the statements, like the conditions line below it will not be checked. The conditions lying below it will not be checked. Simple. So what does this mean actually? If, like, we'll start moving from top to bottom, right? If any of this condition evaluates to true, just in this case, this evaluated to true, then the next condition will not be checked. Like the condition 3 will not be checked. Does not matter this is true or this is false. This will not be checked. Let's suppose I write one more else if here. Else if condition 4, right? And I write some statements. Okay, this evaluated to false, this evaluated to true, then neither condition 3 would be checked nor condition 4 would be checked. Once this chain gets finished, this, what is the chain here? If else if chain. If else if else if else if. Once this chain gets finished, then only the next line gets executed, right? Let's suppose I write something like that. After, like, this chain is finished according to me now, I write something like that. See out finished. So what will happen is that it evaluated to false, right? Does not get executed. This evaluated to true gets executed. That means in this if else if chain, now the conditions that are lying below this condition 2 will not be checked any further. This is not checked, this is not checked. This if else if chain gets finished, I just come out with this see out finished, that's it. Finished will be printed on the screen. Okay, this is how this if else if cases work. Okay, fine. So you will get some questions on this. I'll make you practice this. Like, now you would be thinking, how is it going to be of practical significance? But it is of really practical significance. You will get to know about it once I give you some questions. Fine. Moving on to the last conditional statement. If, else if, else. Okay. What would be the syntax? I would write if and write condition 1. Some programming statements within this. Again else if, condition 2. Some programming statements within this, and then else, and this braces, and some programming statements within this. Now, one thing to notice is that else does not has any condition. Else does not have any condition. One thing to notice, no condition given, right? Better to notice that. So how will it work? We'll check upon this condition 1. Like this part, you can easily see this is the if else if chain, right? This will work in the same way. This will work in the same way, right? If condition 1 evaluates to true, none of the else if statements will get evaluated. If this evaluates to false, it will keep on checking for the next condition to evaluate to true. Fine. So the new concept that arises here is that when will this else get evaluated? When will this else get evaluated? Like all these statements, when will they get evaluated? So else will get evaluated. Else will get evaluated only when all the conditions of if else if chain are false. As simple as that. Simple. If this evaluates to false, I check this. This also evaluates to false. Then only else gets evaluated. That's it. Simple. Else will only get evaluated if all the above conditions get to false. Right? Let's suppose I make a variation here. Let's suppose I make a variation. What I'll do is that I'll introduce another else if here. Okay. I'll do something like that. Else if condition 3 and this, and then I write else. Like you might have understood why no condition is being given in else, because else is getting executed only when all the conditions becomes false. That means if all the condition becomes false, else gets executed. Simple. Let's suppose this evaluates to false, right? This also evaluates to false. But when we move on to condition 3, this evaluates to true. Now, since out of this if else if chain conditions, one of the conditions evaluated to true, else will not get it. Else will not get evaluated. Else will not get executed. The statements that are lying within else part will not get executed. Okay, this is what if else meant, right? Quite simple. This is how conditionals work. Okay, let's move on to a question. Fine. So this is the first question that we are going into. So the question states that check if a number is even or odd. Like number will be given to you as an input, and you have to just output on the screen whether the number is even or odd. Simple. First of all, to store the number, I need a variable, right? Let's suppose I declare a variable int a, and I take the input, right? So the variable is getting stored in a, the number is getting stored in a. Okay, I will use the conditionals now. How will I use it? Look at it. If a modulo 2 double equal to 0, like, try to understand. what does this a modulo 2 do? It gives the remainder, right? It will give the remainder when the number is divided by 2, right? If the number is even, if the number is even, it will be divisible by 2. Simple. Let's suppose 10 divide 2, that gives 5, right? And 10 modulo 2 gives 0, obviously, because the remainder is 0. So if the modulo comes out to be 0, the number would be even, right? Simple. So what I'll do, I'll print on the screen, see out even. Okay. And else, what will else do actually now? If this evaluates to false, then else will get evaluated, because there is no if else if chain actually present here. Simple. If else evaluates to false, like if evaluates to false, else will get executed. And how do you mean it actually? If a is not even, like if this is evaluating to false, that means a is not even. If a is not even, then what is a? A is odd. Simple. Two types of numbers actually exist, even and odd. What I'll do, see out odd. Simple. This is how code is being written, and everything is being written again, telling you the same thing. Everything is being written inside int main. Okay, this is how things are working. Fine. Let's move on to the second problem. Okay, check if year is leap year or not. Fine. You would be given an year. You just need to tell whether it is a leap year or not. Mathematically, how do you define a leap year? If a year is divisible by 4, it is a leap year, right? Like some other conditions also exist. I'm not going on to them. I'm just keeping it quite simple. If the year is divisible by 4, it would be a leap year. Simple. Now I recommend you to write the code yourself first and then look into the video. Okay. So to take year as input, I have to declare a variable int year. I would take input t in year. Then I'll use a conditional statement. As simple as that. If year modulo 4 double equal to 0, see out leap year, right? And if this is not 0, that means it is not a leap year. Then what I'll do, I'll write see out not a leap year. Simple. Closing this. Again the same thing. All of these things are written inside int main, right? Simple. This is how if else conditions, if else if conditions, if else if chains are working. Okay, moving on to the next question. The question actually states that you will be given an age, right? You will be given an age. Simple. What you will have to do is that if age is greater equal 18, you have to tell to the user that you can vote, right? If age is like less than 18 but age is greater than 15, right? You have to tell the user that you have these many years left to vote, like years left to vote. Simple. Years left to vote, like you have to just take the difference. And like I'll just use equal to here. And if age is less than 15, then you have to just say cannot vote, right? Focus on the conditions and then we'll formulate the program. Try to write the code yourself and then look into the video. Okay. Taking age as input, int age, c in age. Fine. Okay. Now I'll start checking the conditions. If age greater than equal to 18, what I have to do? Just so you can vote. I'll just print on the screen. You can vote, right? Simple. Now, if age is less than 18, but it is greater than equal to 15. Now, I'll use something like that. If else if age less than 18 and age greater than equal 15. Now you will understand what does actually this and do. Like according to like just you see like normal language, what will and try you to tell? You have to, it is telling you that both of these conditions have to be true, right? Both of these conditions have to be true. Like age has to be less than 18 and age has to be greater than equal 15. That means age can be either 15, either 16 or 17. That's it. Age can be only this much. Simple. Not beyond that, not proceeding to that. Simple. So what will I have to do then? I have to show them the difference, right? You have these many years left to vote. That's what I have to tell them. Okay. I have to just tell them the difference, right? What I'll do is that see out. You have, then I'll use the concept of chaining. I'll just do 18 minus age. Then again I'll use chaining years to vote. Simple. How is it going to work? You have 18 minus age. Actually, what does it mean? Let's suppose age was 16, right? Clearly visible, 2 years are left to vote. 18 minus 16 will be equivalent to 2, right? What would be printed on the screen is that it will be printed, you have, then this 2, and then this years to vote. Simple. So altogether you have 2 years to vote. This is what I wanted to print on the screen, and this is what is getting printed. Fine. So the last condition was that if age is less than 15, if age is less than 15, like now I have two options to perform this. Let's see. I can write the same thing simply like that. If age is, else if age is less than 15, I'll just see out. You cannot vote. Simple. Simple. Like if age is greater than equal 18, this evaluates to true. All these two will be ignored. If this is false and this is true, this will be ignored. If both of them are false, this will be true. Like if both of them are false, obviously this will be true, like according to the constraints of the question, and this will evaluate to true. I can do something like that also, right? If this evaluates to false, if this evaluates to false, like this condition evaluated to false, this condition evaluated to false, only this condition is remaining, right? I don't need to write this else if. Actually what I'll do is that I'll give you an optional statement. I'll just write else. Like if both these are evaluating to false, obviously else would have to be true. Else will have to be true, right? I'll just write see out. You cannot vote. Simple. So either you can use this or you can use this. That's it. Simple. Okay. So this is what conditionals meant. I've given you 3 questions that would have given you a better idea how to use this conditionals, and now you would be getting better hold of how to use these operators and how to use this C in C out and how to use these statements, right? How to take variable inputs, how to declare variables. Fine. Okay. So as homework, I will be giving you a question that would be on HackerRank. The question is quite long. Try to have patience and do that. The question will be given in the description. The link will be in the description. Okay. So until then, practice all of them. Like you can also go to some other platforms to practice questions, make questions of your own. If you have any doubts, do leave them in the comments and you will surely get a reply. So if you are liking this content, please do consider liking the video and subscribing the channel. Do share it with your friends so that they also get benefited. Fine. Until then, have a good day. The next video will be soon. Have a good day. Bye.